Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this week's episode of My First Sketch at myfirstsketch.com. I'm Josh Hyam. As always, feel free to subscribe to the show on iTunes or on SoundCloud and get it automatically. You can catch the show on the Stitcher app as well. Like the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/myfirstsketch. My email is josh@myfirstsketch.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at myfirstsketch. So with this weekend comes the final Swedish shows. And as Brian Craig says, they're putting an exclamation point at the end of the sentence. Friday and Saturday, November 17th and 18th at 9 p.m. at the Philly Improv Theater, Swedish will present Swedish, fully accredited. Which brings us to today's guest, Brian Craig, who's currently a member of Pants and Sweetish. Now, I went over to Brian's house to record this, and we talked for a very long time. So, here is a My First Sketch first. A 2-part episode. And here's Brian's first sketch, called Vampires. Brian reads the roles of the father and the son, Samantha Russell reads the roles of the mother and the daughter, and I'll give you whatever visual information you need to know. So let's go to the sketch. "1950s father knows best type family coming to breakfast. Opens with a doo-da-da-doo. Father is reading newspaper and drinking coffee in business suit. Mother's preparing breakfast table in apron, etc. Daughter is eating cereal.
Honey, breakfast is ready!
The son storms downstairs in a mood. He sits down in front of a plate of food and crosses his arms.
Well, son, you better eat up before your food gets cold.
Son jumps up, pointing his finger at father.
Don't repress me, man. Well, I'll be.
Now, your father only wants you to have a good start, so you're ready for school.
Forget it, Mom. I'm not going to school today. I'm not going ever. But, son, you need to get a good education. Why, Dad? So I can be a slave to the man?
Mom, if he's not going to eat it, can I have his waffles?
Just eat your food and get ready for school, dear.
Well, what are you going to do then, son? I'm going to be a vampire. Oh, a vampire, huh? I hear that pays very well. Don't patronize me, Dad. You don't understand.
Son, is it necessary to quit school, though? I mean, you couldn't be a vampire on the weekends. Just at least until summer.
Well, I never really thought about. Can I do it after school, too? Only after you finish your homework.
As long as you keep your grades up, son, you can be a vampire.
Well, all right. I guess that'll be okay. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad.
We love you too, son. Now finish your pancakes or you'll be late for school.
Son smiles lovingly at mother and father and eats his food quickly.
Mom, can I be a molecular biologist?
Of course you can, dear. Now eat your food.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Josh.
So, vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And you said this after we finished reading. There's no jokes in this.
There's literally no jokes.
So,
I don't even know. I think there was a point in time where, and I still do this, I write a sketch thinking, the fact that the sketch is a sketch is the joke. It's very conceptual.
Just, it's...
Can you believe we're even doing this?
Kid wants to be a vampire for his career?
It's so absurd. So I think that's what I was going after. Mm-hmm. And I still have that problem now where it's kind of like a Marshall McLuhan, the media is the message type of thing. Where the joke is the sketch. The sketch is the joke. That's the joke. Because we made a sketch. I wrote it.
That's the first McLuhan drop in the history of this podcast.
Mm-hmm. There may be more. You just wait.
So where does this idea come from? What did you think of vampires?
That feels pretty arbitrary. I don't think vampires were very important to me, but I definitely watched a lot of sitcoms growing up as a kid. I kind of grew up on Nick at Night.
Yeah.
And old sitcoms. So that definitely influenced where this came from.
Yeah, because this is very. You're at least exploring the tropes of those sitcoms.
Exactly.
And I mean, and this is entirely the wrong sitcom for what you're pulling here with Fathers in the Vest. But when I first read this, when you sent it to me earlier today, for whatever reason, I was thinking Small Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Just
I definitely watched a lot of Small Wonder.
That nuclear family, 2.2 kids or whatever that average is supposed to be. I definitely saw that in that. So
yeah, I watched a lot of My Three Sons. I feel like My Three Sons was more of an influence than Father Knows Best.
Right. On
things I watched as a kid, Leave It to Beaver, that kind of stuff.
When was this written?
This was written in 2004, so 13 years ago.
Okay.
I was a young little man.
Still in college?
I was still in college. Right. This was my senior year of college. Okay. It was written for and this is going to kind of jumping feet first into the history of Secret Pants. So this was a class called a comedy workshop class at Temple in my senior year. It was a senior year for about half of the original Secret Pants, and then junior year for the other half.
You actually had a comedy class, for credit.
Yeah, it was
college?
It was an elective. We were all,
so
or most
jealous.
Most of us were communications majors, BTMM or MFA. Not MFA.
Not yet at least.
Not yet.
Math.
Movies. MT. No.
I don't know your acronyms compared to.
I know what I was, and that was BTMM.
Okay.
Broadcast, Telecommunications, and Mass Media. Temple University. You can go there if you want. I transferred from community college, which is the way I recommend doing it. So I did 2 years at Montco, transferred to Temple, and then this senior year we had comedy workshop. It was taught, but taught isn't really the right word. It was led by Rob Stoller, who was a documentary filmmaker. I think he still might be.
Okay.
And it was very free form. He kind of split the group into 3 different groups, and he said, all right, we're going to kind of do a Saturday Night Live thing. Mm-hmm. So we're going to split into writers, a group of performers, and then a group of crew people. Okay. And I was in the group of writers.
Was that okay with people?
I think it was self-selected where you felt your skills or your talent was best used.
Because I can just imagine being assigned to the wrong category.
I don't want to move sandbags around all day. Set up C-stands.
So Temple University Comedy Workshop, are Secret Pants members in the workshop with you?
Yes. Well, so what happened was, this is pre-Secret Pants. This is kind of the jumping off point for Secret Pants.
Right, because Secret Pants didn't happen in college. It
happened after this class happened. Okay. It grew out of this class. So there were, I don't know, a dozen of us or so from the writing group. I was in the writers thing. And if you have just heard the script, you can tell why I was placed into the writers group, because I thought I was a writer. And we, so after class, we would kind of all go to this little bar or something, or pizza place. I'm not sure. We sat around kind of shooting the shit. It was almost entirely the writing group. Bryce was in the performers. Okay. And that was about it. But a bunch of us writers would sit around talking about movies we like and TV shows we like, and we kind of all realized that all of those groups, or all of those movies and TV shows, those people came from sketch comedy.
Right, okay.
We traced them all back, hey, we're having fun doing this. Let's keep doing this after we graduate.
Okay, so the next question that leads to that is, how? How do you guys decide? Philadelphia, at that point, to me, at least in my knowledge of who I've talked to and everything, is a wasteland.
It was a wasteland. It was the Wild West. There was nothing happening. There was the Laugh House,
right,
on South Street, doing stand-up, but none of us were stand-ups, and none of us really went to the Laugh House.
It's Laugh House, yeah.
But beyond that, it was just, there was a little bit of the internet. This is pre-YouTube. So like there were some things online like QuickTime videos, and so our idea was really just to create videos.
Okay.
There was really there's no concept of performing live at that point, and there was nowhere to perform live.
Right, because any venue that you would even get into isn't shaped to be a comedy venue. So,
and that was true for probably the first 4 years.
Yeah, you're a fish out of water no matter where you're
going. We were
like,
doing bar shows 100%.
And even if you're getting your friends and family to come, there's a very real possibility that there's a ton of people that don't want to be there for what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, so,
and those bar shows generally were not set up for performing. The microphone situations weren't great. We also didn't understand that we needed to have microphones. Like we're playing at our first year, we did like the Khyber,
right.
Back when it was a music venue, and so we were on stage with we brought all of our friends and family, packed house. We did not use microphones, which was a huge mistake. So nobody within the first half, beyond the first half of the room, could hear anything that was going on.
And then whatever's happening at the bar is going to drown out for everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was it. There was nothing going on for probably the first 4 years.
Yeah, but at the same time, if everyone should know, I am a Secret Pants disciple. Secret Pants is how I knew there was comedy in Philadelphia. That was my introduction. I've dealt with most of you in some kind of mentorship.
We tried.
Writer, teaching, whatever role,
or just hot gossing in the lobbies,
or just hanging out and talking smack, or when it didn't work, what did work, whatever. But I can't imagine doing it without a centralized, we have Fit now, we have Good now, but being everywhere else in the city, or doing the Muhlenberg show that you guys have talked about. Opening for stand-ups in Atlantic City that I've talked with Sam about. I can't understand any of that, and how.
Yeah, there was no script for how to be what we were beyond books about Saturday Night Live, or books about Mr. Show, or Mr. Show didn't have books yet at that point. There wasn't a what happened hadn't come out yet.
Yeah, you had. And I don't remember the exact timeline now, but Don Montre eventually had some kind of
show,
comedy show.
Yep. And there was either a weekly or monthly thing on Tuesday nights at North Third. Scott Johnston put it on. I can't remember what the name of the Fancy Pants Cinema. That's what it was. So you could bring the video you made. You can come bring whatever it is, your artsy fartsy thing. It was a video show.
Even then,
you brought it on
there's
DVD.
No live,
right?
So
and eventually he asked us to host it as a one-off, and so we did a live show at North Third. In addition to playing videos and letting everyone play, so kind of in between videos we would do little skits.
So you had mentioned, Father Knows Best, the old sitcoms, TV Land. What was your first impression of comedy growing up?
Really, I watched so much TV as a kid. It's weird looking back and thinking of all the syndicated television I watched. We already mentioned Small Wonder.
Yeah.
Just the 10 of Us, Sister Kate, that the show with Body by Jake. I don't know if you remember that.
I have no clue what that is. I've never heard of that.
It was called Big Brother Jake.
Well, I also have never heard of Sister Kate.
Sister Kate, a very similar show. It was about an orphanage.
Okay.
Run by a nun.
Okay.
And Milli Vanilli. The only thing I remember about it was there was an episode where the one kid lost something, or he lost his bike, or and he told Sister Kate, the person running the orphanage, that it was stolen by a gang of thugs or whatever. And so they brought the police in, and this kid is lying, and he's just building on top of this lie. And he described. They brought in a sketch artist, the police sketch artist, and he just describes Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine. And then it escalates to the point where like Milli Vanilli comes to do like a benefit concert at the orphanage in his honor. And they do Blame It on the Rain or whatever. And then he finally confesses that he actually lost his bike or something.
Okay, so Milli Vanilli, so... late
So it was
80s,
probably
like-
89. I want to say 89.
It was right, yeah, I was trying to think.
I think all of my memories are from 1989. My Two Dads.
I vaguely remember My Two Dads.
My Two Dads in syndication.
Like, and you're a couple years older than me, so my syndication was like Brady Bunch for a while.
Okay.
And this isn't no cable, so it was Brady Bunch. I remember Brady Bunch. I remember bits and pieces of Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
But then like the '90s things came into syndication.
Yeah.
So like your Full Houses, your
A lot
Family
of full,
Matters,
yeah.
like
A lot of Full House, a lot of Family Matter, anything on TGIF.
Step by Step,
like early TGIF is like my
because
sweet
if
spot.
I remember correctly, the one channel was
Step by
basically
Step.
like TGIF Daily, and then the other channel was The Simpsons, Seinfeld.
Yeah.
That block.
So by that point, once that was probably like early high school. I'm watching and taping the back to back Simpsons, Seinfeld, and then just rewatching those VHS tapes.
I don't think I ever taped any of The Simpsons.
You should
I
have.
should have.
You should have.
But then at the same time, I've gotten all the.
I mean, I haven't
DVDs
gone
when
back
they
and
come out.
watched them, but
Like
when I was a kid, sure.
I taped all the SNLs. That was my big like SNL from like '98 to 03 or something.
Yeah.
I think I have most
See,
of them on VHS.
I
somewhere.
don't really have a memory of staying up late and watching them. So my memory of Saturday Night Live, and if I can just sidetrack real quick. So when I turned 15, 16, once I got of age to get a job, I got a job, got a girlfriend, got a car.
Okay.
In that order. Yeah,
seems a
in
reasonable
that order.
order.
Yeah,
That's fine.
And that was that set my path for the rest of my life as a codependent person who is in fact, I'm kind of bragging, but I don't think I've been single for more than like 1 year combined.
So you're like a
since,
serial monogamist.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm Mr. Long Term. So in high school, I had a girlfriend, and after I had a car and a parking spot. She was a year younger than me, so I was a senior. She was a junior. We would come home from school, hang out on the couch, spoon a little bit while we watch Comedy Central. They would play. So this is this is like 98, 99. And they would play like early to mid 90s SNL. So those are my SNLs.
Okay.
Like, so my sweet spot of SNL is those reruns that they
From
played.
Comedy Central.
So
Okay.
that's, Phil Hartman, Chris Farley, David Spade, Adam Sandler.
Sandler era. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite?
I'm gonna say-
cast member?
I'm gonna have to go with Chris Farley.
Okay.
From that
Like,
that
why?
period.
Why him more than?
I just have a
others in
very
that cast.
distinct memory of that. I guess it's the Gap Girls
Mm-hmm.
sketch, and him doing the girly thing, and then go
Doing that switch.
and
to
then doing
that-
the switch.
Lay off me!
Lay off me, I'm
yeah.
starving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lay off me, I'm starving is like that's I think what won me over with
Okay.
Chris Farley. Is literally just that line. Lay off me, I'm starving. That switch.
Because I know that sketch you're talking about, and I don't know if I've ever seen that full sketch.
I don't.
because
I can't remember the full sketch. All
there
I can
was,
remember
like,
is that line.
a clip show where when I started watching Saturday Night Live, there was a clip show. I think it was like the Bad Boys of Saturday Night Live or something, and they just did like snippets, like they did full sketch, and there was like a montage of just like minute-long snippets. And that was a snippet.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so that's a thing. Oh, Chris Farley's funny there, but there's no context for me. Like, I didn't know Gap was a thing in that sketch.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, diet starts Monday. Like, that's it. That's all
My
I knew.
mall didn't have a Gap. Now that you mention it, it's funny that you mention that. My mall did not have a Gap.
I'm trying to think, like, because I know there was a sketch, and I think the only Gap Girl sketch I've ever seen. Okay, I might be convoluting two sketches because they're definitely two different hosts. Sarah Gilbert from Roseanne is working at a donut place, and she's making fun of them.
Okay.
She's the adversary. And then there's another one where Alec Baldwin is David Spade's boyfriend.
Okay.
And they've caught him cheating, and he's just lying his way in a circle. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
they're the two that I can like kind of grasp, but I don't remember more of it.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember much of it beyond just that. And I was doing some smooching at the time too.
So Chris.
So
Farley.
forgive me for not remembering.
See, sometimes when I ask that question, and since you've listened to you're one of my.
Mm-hmm. It's not reflected
people's
in what I've
answers
become.
surprise me.
Yep.
And that surprises me. Because I think of Chris Farley as this big, bombastic, like...
Well, I think you can see parts of, like if you're looking at me doing Fastball Pitcher Bob Gutierrez, you can see...
That's you!
You can see Matt Foley, right?
Yes.
You can definitely see bits of Matt Foley
that-
in a motivational speaker.
That character... the way you inhabit a character like that is very reminiscent of some of his characters, for sure.
And at the time, all the Adam Sandler movies were big for me. Tommy Boy, Black Sheep, big for me. I think I think the movie that turned me around was probably seeing on VHS Rushmore. That's when I took my turn. Seeing Rushmore, and then a little later on, hitting the Christopher Guest movies.
So you've hit that instead of the dude bro
that's
comedy that comes from Farley, Spade, Sandler.
Yes, I was definitely into it at the age that it was written for.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Rushmore and then Christopher Guest, because now I'm trying to remember my own timeline of the Anderson movies. I don't know why. I was like 15 when it came out. But Royal Tenenbaums was massive to me, and I don't understand why 15-year-old Josh was...
It had all those people that you knew from other, like, Ben Stiller from
I haven't seen any of the other ones. Like,
okay.
Royal Tenenbaums was my introduction to Wes Anderson. Like,
right. But, like that's... It's a good touchstone because it's got Bill Murray, who you know from Groundhog Day and Ghostbusters, and you know Ben Stiller from, I'm guessing at that point, Zoolander, or seeing maybe the Ben Stiller Show, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And Gwyneth Paltrow, I imagine you knew
just
her
won
head,
the Oscar
her
like
head
2 years
for,
ago.
Her head in a box. She won for head in a box.
I probably was too young to see
you
to
may
know that
you
one.
may not have known that one at that point, but it definitely had people you recognize from other things in a movie that had a completely different milieu.
Right.
Gene Hackman and Angelica Houston and Danny Glover. Danny Glover, who I loved from Angel in the Outfield.
Yeah.
I was big Angels in the Outfield. In fact, every baseball movie, Angels in the Outfield.
Well, in the early '90s, there were tons of baseball movies.
And going back to Fastball Pitcher Bob Gutierrez for a second, I can't understate how much I stole from David Stern in Rookie of the Year. It's a little embarrassing to like catch that on TV and like, oh no, what have I done? Everybody knows. He's stuck between the two doors.
I've never made that leap, so I don't think everybody knows.
That's all right.
You're out it now, but
as long as I don't say funky butt lovin' on stage, I think I'm safe.
Now we have to figure out a way to make sure you
to
say
get funky butt lovin' on.
Okay, so
did Fastball Pitcher Bob Gutierrez just say funky butt lovin'?
And that will be a joke only for me when you ever do it. Like, I'll just be like, yeah.
And what was the other one? The Twins manager. The kid was a Twins manager. Go back to Cincinnati is my favorite line from that movie. Little Big League. Little Big League.
The pitcher?
Because you had Little Big League, Rookie of the Year, Sandlot,
of course, and the Major League movies, which
were different.
A little before, yeah. It's not that wasn't targeted at us,
right.
yeah. It wasn't targeted at me and my brother.
Because I'm pretty sure I saw Rookie of the Year in the theaters. And I want to say, like, Little Big League was a little bit later, and I was like, I'm too old for that. And I was like 11, so whatever.
I didn't see Rookie of the Year in the theater, but I remember my brother going to see whatever that, like, Kid in King Arthur's Court. My younger brother went to go see that, and I feel like I was like, I'm too old to go see.
I think I was also
Kid
in that.
King Arthur's Court.
Syndication.
A lot of TV. Nick at Night was huge in my house. Once TV Land happened, big thing. I was watching Okay, so sketch comedy, right?
Yeah.
The Flip Wilson show. That was
that,
huge.
like,
that
on
the
TV
very
Land?
beginning of TV Land.
Wow.
I was introduced to the Flip Wilson show, The Devil Made Me Do It with Geraldine.
Okay.
George Carlin coming on being the hippy dippy weatherman.
Right, because I mean that was his. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't realize that was on Flip Wilson.
that's where I was exposed to it. So that was a big deal to me. My dad loved the Waltons, so I have a big like amount of Waltons knowledge in my head, which is weird. In fact, Chris Dolan made a Waltons joke on Facebook the other day. I'm like, I feel like this is written for me. I get this joke. Like, yeah. So I watched a lot of TV. Watched a lot of like just sitcoms with my family. Like Newhart. Newhart was my Bob Newhart intro. Like those wacky brothers.
One?
That was the second one at the New England Hotel.
Yeah, okay.
At the bed and breakfast. And it's great. I love it. I'll watch that again.
I'll
watch it again today in a minute.
I vaguely remember, like, that would be something I probably want to revisit.
It's on one of those off channels.
I have to, like, go through those
like
off
Me
channels.
It might be like Me TV
and
or like
figure
17.
out what's on what and just start paying attention.
They play some fun, like they play Newhart. They play the Bob Newhart show, which I've never
seen.
I hadn't really seen. I'd seen like clips. I knew like the finale.
Yeah.
I knew the finale of Newhart.
Yeah.
But they also show My Two Dads to come back to that, which is why I'm suddenly more well versed in it than I remember.
I've been going in because the one channel has Laugh In.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've been just like my world stops when
Yeah.
that's on.
You sit down, you say, "Why is this happening?
And I'm just
what
like,
in the world were they doing?"
And Laugh In is so racist so often. Like it's terrifying that in the late '60s that was okay, where there would be pitchforks and Twitter would be a flame.
Oh, for sure.
With some of these characters, it's just craziness. And
what else did I watch? A lot of the big Who's the Boss, Cheers. I watched Seinfeld when it was on. I watched Seinfeld when it was on reruns. Seinfeld, pretty big.
What
I didn't watch. Here, you'll probably know where I'm coming from with this because you were raised religious. I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons for years. I wasn't allowed to watch MTV or VH1. I had to sneak it. I got very good with the remote of hitting the back channel when I heard my parents walk in the room.
It took a while for me to be allowed to watch Simpsons, and I think it became the syndication.
Once it became syndication, it was hard to keep us away from it.
It was around more often.
But so I did not watch The Simpsons for the first however many years, and then I just kind of binged on those reruns.
So at what point in your television viewing and your fandom is it like, is this something I could do? Like, when is it not until college?
Yeah.
Or
I never thought
there's no aspiration as a kid to do this.
Even like even when Comedy Central came into my house, which going back to watching TV at my girlfriend's house, our house, whatever the cable package was, we did not get channel 70 or 72. So we didn't get Comedy Central. We didn't get I guess FX was 72.
Okay.
We did get I think E was on either 69 or 71, and it was very very snowy.
Okay.
Cable was weird. It's crazy to think how far cable has advanced in our lifetime.
Years.
It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
So it wasn't until college and taking this class. Why did you take this class?
You know what? I was a weird funny kid. Like as a kid, and like through high school, I was never the class clown, but I was like, I had a wry sense of humor, my mom used to say. Like I was always the kid. I was never the kid making jokes for the class, but I was the kid making jokes for the kid next to me.
Right.
Like my audience was always one.
Okay, yeah.
And so like and still to this day, like sitting next to me in, like, as you know, Josh, sitting next to me in a theater while we're watching a not very good sketch show, little comments.
We will find enjoyment.
Yeah. I can
something that we're
I can
not
make
enjoying.
I can say something very funny under my breath for one person, and it's gold. Any louder than that, I'm an asshole. But very subtly under my breath for one person, I am a pretty funny guy.
Absolutely.
And that since I was a kid. I was never the class. I was always a very good student. I was always afraid of getting in trouble. I was afraid of missing classes. Like I never took I was
Very much
I
me
was
too.
I was perfect. I was Mr. Perfect attendance through
Not so much
up
me,
until
but-
middle school because I was afraid I was gonna miss something and fall behind. And I was terrified of it. I was the oldest kid. I don't know if we've established that.
Okay.
Me being a control freak comes from me being the oldest child in a crazy house of kids. I was the oldest of 5 altogether, but my family was a foster family. So there was
way
a constant churn of like ne'er-do-well kids coming through the house, and a lot of like behavior, like not to their fault,
Right.
but a lot of them had behavioral issues, and like my mom. I remember my mom having like sticker charts for kids constantly, just for behavior stuff.
Yeah.
And like there was a part of me that was like, it got like very frustrated that like I should be rewarded for
Sure.
being good all the time.
Yeah.
Or like he's getting stickers, but then the other part of me, I'm like, what? It's just stickers. What do I care? Why do I care about stickers? Stickers mean nothing. And so yeah, so my childhood was like a lot of kids in the house, and having to be the kid that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
And
So it wasn't necessarily an authority thing. It was I'm going to be the best behaved one.
right.
Because there's so much other
Yeah.
things happening. Okay.
And I was always praised for like I was, oh, you're such a good boy, you're a clean plater, and that's part of eating issues that I have to this day of being praised for being a clean plater. I can't let food just sit
You're
on.
gonna eat everything.
Yeah, I can't throw food away.
Okay.
Josh, I can't throw food away.
That's
I have to
put
finish.
less on the plate.
Let's have smaller plates is also good. It's also a good
also
idea.
correct.
Yeah.
Sound strategies.
So like those like being praised as a kid is a thing that kind of kicks you on the other end when you become an adult.
Yeah.
When you're like, oh, I have to be good. I have to be good. I have to clean my plate. I have to do this. I have to do that. And you get a little weird as an adult. That's the thing I'm alright with.
So now that you're a clean plater as an adult, you're also like getting your validation and praise from
clean.
Comedy and like.
Oh, we're bringing it
instead,
back to
like,
comedy.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought we were having a therapy session.
we're not laying down on the couch like. I don't know.
Josh, I know what the question's gonna be. Why do you do comedy?
That's,
And I'll tell you.
That's last.
The reason I do
last
comedy.
two.
The reason I do comedy is because I gotta work all this shit out. I gotta work through all this control issues.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we're back to Temple.
Yeah,
Back to this class.
I'm
Members of Secret Pants are there, and
I'm a
you
very
are
good student.
Continuing.
in fact, I think the 4 of us that graduated that year, of which I think I'm the only one who's still an active member of Secret Pants, we all were cum laudes.
Okay.
We all sat together.
Fancy
We're all
pants.
very good. We're all very good students.
Is that like overachiever? Is that what we?
It's
Is
I don't
that
know.
what it's called?
I'm not going to
Just
take
nerd
offense. to
or
it.
like.
Yeah, we were definitely nerds.
So Secret Pants begins. Wild West. The city isn't ready for comedy venue wise.
We're doing videos. We're meeting weekly at Temple because some of us were still, like
still
half of us
in-
were still in there, so we could go into like the lobby or like get an empty room and meet there.
The 13 of you start.
Yeah, we're all writing terrible sketches. We had no concept of editing at that point.
How much of the early stuff is
How much of it was first drafts?
available?
All of it.
Well,
all of it was
I'm
first
saying
drafts.
still available. Like, how much digging do I have to do to find?
A lot of our sketches are still on YouTube. We kind of came into being as YouTube was coming into being. So we were, in fact, when Apple before podcasting was like a word,
Yeah.
Apple started doing their Apple iTunes podcasting, whatever.
Yeah.
We were in on the ground floor of that. And for a while, we were one of the top-rated comedy podcasts of just putting our live video, or just putting our videos up on.
Right, because for a while, and I don't know if they still do, but for a while, podcasts there was a video component available.
Yep.
Like, yeah,
I imagine you probably could still do it, right? If you wanted to. Are they gonna not let you put a video on? I don't know.
I'm sure you. I don't know.
There's one way to find out, Josh.
We'll figure it out
You
later.
and me. We're gonna make a video version.
We're bringing it back.
Of this goofy.
We're
podcast.
bringing the video back. All right. So Secret Pants, as the advent of Fit and other venues in the city happen.
Yeah.
Because when I first get into Philadelphia comedy and start seeing things, Secret Pants was always a part of Chip's one man show.
Chip's one man show. And that
That's
came
what
out
it
of
was called.
that came out of the vacuum of Die Actor Die. So where you were never you'd never seen Die Actor Die. That was at the Khyber originally as kind of a variety show. Have you had Don Montreal?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that was where actors would write things, and
that was the original concept.
Yeah.
Of it. Yeah. And a lot of the early shows in Philadelphia, the original concept got involved in something else because we kind of took over. We kept showing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that Chip kind of took over that slot at Khyber, and then he kind of jumped over to Fit when Khyber stopped doing shows.
Right.
But yeah, we have been friends with Chip since he pretty much started doing it. We both met via Don Montre's Die Actor Die. And in fact, a lot of the stand-up and sketch community came together that way.
Yeah, that was a show for that to converge.
Yeah. So like that era of stand-ups, like your Chip Chantrys, your Aaron Herzog, Joey Doherty, Baby Joey Doherty was around then. Brandon Kennedy, we all became very close friends with all of them just socially, and we'd hang out. And Meg and Rob came out. Then we met them at. In fact, I was the only one from Secret Pants that saw them perform at Die Actor Die, and I took my younger brother to go with. That's the only time I think he's ever. It's the second time. It was the first of two times I ever got my brother to come out to see a comedy show. I took him to see Die Actor Die at the Khyber, and Megan Robb was on the show.
How'd that go?
Oh well.
But that's still the only time.
Yeah, he's just he's got his suburban life. It's all right. I understand.
That's fine.
It's hard to get people out. It's certainly hard to get people from this because I work in the suburbs. I live in the suburbs. And you tell people at work, oh, I got a comedy show. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. Hey, tell us next time you're doing it near here.
Oh, never.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do a show in Lansdale or North Wales, but I'll let you know if I ever do. No problem. Next time I'm in
we'll add that
Hatboro Horseshoe.
We'll add that to the list. Video podcast, show in Lansdale. Yes. Just keep going.
Check that off.
So Secret Pants.
Yeah.
Brian begins to teach at Fit.
Right.
Sam eventually becomes
director
of
Paul taught at
Paul's a teacher
and a director.
You were I didn't know who you were for a while.
No, that's kind of I like it that way. To be completely honest with you,
you were the unknown.
Yeah.
Because I knew also Bryce through professional wrestling. Yeah. That was his side project. You just had Secret Pants until Sweetish came along.
That is true.
To me,
yeah, and part of that is just me being. I don't know what the best word for it. Introvert. I don't know if it's. I don't like. Let me see if I can phrase this best. So in high school, a lot of my friends were in punk bands, and so I kind of developed that DIY attitude of you do it yourself, and so I didn't like the idea of working for somebody else.
Okay.
If I'm gonna put on a show, I'm gonna do it in my own show. We'll have a show in a bar.
Kind of makes sense with fastball pitcher.
Sure.
You have a costume, you can quickly go into that voice,
turn into a completely different person.
Yeah,
and not
that's
turn it
entirely
off.
on you. And
I really liked disappearing into being invisible. I like being invisible. And I mean, going back to as my childhood, I don't like being the center of attention, but I do like getting the credit. Do you know what I mean?
It's a strange dichotomy.
I love being helping someone do a thing, doing a prop or something for one of the house teams or something, creating a prop and then just sitting in the audience quietly, being completely nondescript, and like hearing someone be like, "Oh, that prop was pretty cool." I'm like, "Yeah."
Okay, so you're not gonna go like yeah.
I'm not gonna tell anyone that I did it, but knowing that someone is appreciating the thing that I did is validating for me. I like that validation, but I don't need it to be said
face to face.
Right, exactly.
You're totally okay with just overhearing praise.
I love overhearing praise. Overhearing praise is great. It's a highly underrated thing.
Swedish is ending its run shortly.
What?
There's advertisements.
It's true.
I don't know,
it's true. We're putting an exclamation point at the end of the sentence.
Yeah. Swedish is the only group that survived out of the Iron Sketch show.
That's true.
And I've been a vocal fan of the Iron Sketch process and everything that it entails.
And we appreciate it. It hasn't gone unnoticed.
And if you go through a bunch of the old episodes of this, a lot of the people I've talked to start with Iron Sketch.
They dip their toe in.
Yeah, like, and I remember you were picked, and Iron Sketch is actually what got me back in, because Julia tells me, hey, I'm doing this. Brian Craig is my mentor, and I was like, wait, what?
That guy doesn't do anything.
And I was like, wait, how'd you get Brian Craig? That's not fair. Like,
so going back to you asking me why don't I ever do anything at Fit, I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be held to whatever Fit's standards are. If I'm told, like, from being a kid, if I'm told you have to do this, then I feel like I'm being put into a box and I'm pushing back.
So do a show where you're told to do this.
Right. And so if I have to stick to a certain thing, then I'm immediately on the defense. And so everybody else has had their dip their toe into Fit. And so I resisted. Well, I've never been asked. I mean, I also kind of project this this thing
don't
where
bother.
yeah, like I'm not gonna, like, I've never been asked to be a director, but also the answer is gonna be no. Well, the answer would be no, thank you.
Right.
The answer would be no, thank you.
You're gonna be
but
polite about
it'd be
it,
nice to be asked. It would be nice to be asked, but the answer is gonna be no, thank you. And so Bryce and Brian Kelly were starting this Iron Sketch thing, which I thought was a great idea. It's a terrific idea. I wish it continued, because I really like the idea of, it makes complete sense in a business sense of you're churning all these people through as students, and then at some point
You don't have to sell me on this.
but for your listeners who may not know what Iron Sketch is for whatever reason, they've not listened to any other episode, but I to their credit, to Brian Kelly and Bryce's credit, it's a great idea of being like that middle stepping stone.
Absolutely.
That middle stepping stone is crucial in sketch
Absolutely.
comedy in
And
a city.
I think the first time Swedish shows up in Iron Sketch, I think it's like the second episode, like the second time that the show has happened, I think. There might have been one before you as a test, or because I think, but anyway, you guys do it.
I don't know if that's true. Your timeline might be. You may have come on when you heard about it.
We'll have to.
But yeah, so Brian Kelly and Bryce asked me to do it, and I went, I also have a hard time saying no to my friends.
And I fully understand that's
100%
why
I
you do
did
this, is because Bryson.
Like I think I said to Samantha, I'm like, I hope they don't ask me, because I don't want to do it. I don't want to be in charge of anyone. I don't want to I don't want to make any new friends. God knows I don't want to make new friends. I do not want to make new friends. And I'm like, as long as they don't ask me, we're cool. But if my friends say, hey, could you help us do this?
Say, how much
I'm like,
arm twisting does it take? Like,
damn it. If you use the word help and can you, I have a hard time saying no to my friends. I hope nobody who's booking shows is listening right now, because if
list number 4.
Hey, I'd love to have you on our show. Can you just help us out? We're having a hard time. Like, oh, damn it. I don't want to, but since you're nice.
So Swedish is you're asked to be the mentor director, even though I believe you very publicly said, don't call me that.
Oh yeah, I don't like the word mentor.
Like you were just like, I'm part of this group.
Yeah,
we're working together here.
And that goes back to Secret Pants. Like, we're each 1/5 of a group.
Yeah.
Nobody's at the head of anything. We're all equal. and you don't see writing credits on anything. You don't see credits on anything because credits are, unless for some weird reason they're joke credits.
Right.
You don't see credits because Secret Pants wrote
Secret
the whole thing. Secret Pants directed it. Secret Pants wrote it, and I brought that same aesthetic to Swedish when I reluctantly agreed to be the quote unquote mentor. And because the word mentor feels so weird. Like I know I have like experience.
You definitely were.
Like I've been around for a while.
Leg up in experience and.
But I don't want to. I don't feel like I'm better than anyone. I mean, I do. That's not true. As the guy who sits next to me in a lot of shows and is a very judgy person, you know that I do think I'm better than people, but I don't feel like I'm.
You don't want everyone else to know that.
I'm not a teacher. I don't want to I don't want to tell people what to do.
You want to keep all the wisdom to yourself.
Right. And that's true.
Don't want to impart anything.
In as much as I have wisdom, I don't. I have experience. I don't know that I have wisdom. I do have experience. That's fine. But I don't know that I can teach that.
Right.
And I don't know if I did teach that. Now that we're 3.5 years into it, I start a lot of sentences in Swedish like, here's how I would do it.
Right.
I don't know if it's right.
Don't you think?
I don't know if it's wrong, but here's how I would do it.
Hold some weight.
It's nice to think that.
Yeah.
And it probably does. But I don't like myself enough to say that it's... And a lot of times I'm not right. A lot of times I'm like, hey, here's how I would do it. But this is kind of a... And then after saying it out loud, I'm like, all right, that was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Let's see how we can make this different.
So you get assigned to this group, Julie Hudson.
I'm
going to screw up his last name because I always do.
Eric Soika.
So, okay, it's just Soy. Okay.
Bobby Lang, who everybody except for me knew. Very popular man.
He was bigger name in the improv scene.
He was a who's who in the improv scene.
And then
Mara Pennington.
Yeah. Two of those people no longer live on this side of the country.
They live on the other side of the country.
Which makes...
They are in the Pacific time zone.
A quintet difficult.
Yeah.
When two of them are no longer available.
Right.
Easily like that.
The nice part about 2016, 2017 is that technology has advanced to the point where we can have Skype sessions.
You can have a video
but
person.
it's there's only so much you can do on the other side of the country in terms of like getting props together or coordinating or putting a show together. On top of the fact that I am a control freak, and so like I am the person I'll make the props. I will be the one putting the tech together. I'll be doing this. I'll be like, I put that on myself, and it's a stupid thing. And again, it goes back to Secret Pants, where we're a group of control freaks, and we are perfectionists, and we're control freaks, and we want everything to be right.
Is there ever an issue with Secret Pants where like one of you has the prop and makes it, and someone else is like, "That's not what I was thinking." Okay,
Yes.
So the eyes in this room right now, like between Sam hanging out,
for sure.
Like,
yeah. Do I ever get frustrated that someone made a prop that's or picked up something that's not what I would hope is not what I was picturing in my head?
Right.
Does that make me frustrated? Sure. Sure. Of course it does.
Do you bring a second one, then show the show, like, oh, let's hide this one and put this one out? And...
Sometimes you have to kind of eat that. You have to eat your frustration. Sometimes it just it works out in rehearsal that like this one thing isn't working out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it becomes a conversation. It doesn't often become a conversation. A lot of times you gotta kind of eat your
harmony of the group
sure.
and like whatever you want to call it. So Swedish is very the first that I see. And there's a competition aspect to Iron Sketch. Yeah, and even though I
hate the competition. Everyone does.
But whatever.
Here's the thing: I don't mind. I don't enter like I'm not like a. I am like I like baseball. Yeah. I'm a baseball guy, but I'm not like a competitive guy. I'm not competitive in almost any sense, but I don't like losing. Like, I don't enter competitions because I don't give a shit about competitions. But if I'm in a competition,
If I happen to show up in a competition.
If I have to be in a competition, I don't want to lose. Oh, God.
Anyway.
I can't lose.
But I was about to say,
I will not lose.
Within the competition aspect, Swedish, the first time I saw Swedish that first night, clearly the best.
Oh, thank you.
Clearly the best 15-minute set
yeah.
of the three that I saw that night. And then you guys move on.
It was 10 minutes that first round. It was 10 minutes the first 2 rounds. They changed it.
I don't remember.
I remember it very well because it was a daunting task of making 10 minutes.
I just remember.
We were 5 people. I think you brought this up on when you interviewed Julia, and she didn't know. Here's the thing I did that she didn't know. So I told them, and she mentioned this part. I told them, all right, we're gonna meet on, and we met July 1st, 2014. I said, here's our prop. Come up with just a list of ideas. Don't write any sketches. Just come with a list of ideas. We'll throw them around. We'll kind of bounce them around. I knew that with 4 people writing a show and only having 10 minutes, one of those sketches was not going to get in.
Very well, yeah.
And so I wanted all 4 of them to feel like they had a hand in creating all 4 of the sketches.
Okay.
So we created that 10-minute set together. Like, we bounced ideas around. We're we're doing like the writer's room joke punching up stuff, and so everyone had an ownership of everything. I don't remember what was the question. So where were we heading with that? I cut you off.
I don't
We
remember
were in the
now.
middle of.
See, okay, and then my awfulness. You can say come with ideas. Don't write anything. Guess what? I've written 3 of those ideas already. Like that's just my awfulness, and like I would have come in with that.
Well, Bobby couldn't make that first meeting, so he sent a sketch in.
Okay.
And so like, God damn it, Bobby.
You broke the rules already.
You already did break the rules. But we did punched the heck out of that. It was the sandwich sketch.
Okay.
With the puppet. And so it was a good idea. It didn't have we added a lot of elements to it. We added all the puns to it, which eventually became a bit of a signature for us.
I think that's where I was getting to. The signatures of Swedish to me are there's always a pun heavy.
Sure, we have one pun heavy. We try to do at least one heavily punny sketch, which is just
there's been a bunch of puppets. I don't know if it's every show, but there's been a bunch of puppets, and you still have that secret pants full costume, full prop.
Yeah. I don't know how to do it any other way. That's really what that comes down to.
Right.
That secret pants thing. I only know one way to do sketch. I appreciate minimalist sketch. If you're doing like a stylized and I know you brought this up before.
Like we're never gonna see Brian Craig and it's just all black just coming out.
I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I can't.
Yeah.
Those wires aren't connected that way. I can't do that. Like if it's done, I've seen it done very well.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the heck out of it being done very well. I've seen it done very lazily, and I've told the person next to me.
I'm sure we've had those.
I've driven home in a car and told Samantha how much it annoyed me, how lazily it was done. Just the least amount of effort. If you're gonna either go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like, hey, every prop has to be a prop. But like if you're gonna mime a thing, have a thing instead of miming it. If you're gonna be typing on a typewriter, have a real type. Like if you're gonna do a stylized, very minimalist thing, that's cool with me, as long as you just commit all the way to it.
I think when I talked to Sam, your example, Sam, was if you're eating something on a plate and a dinner table, have stuff on the plate, like.
Or if you're saying it out loud.
Reference what's on the plate and it's not what's in your plate.
Yeah.
Like I've had people
Doesn't
reference one thing. They're eating something and they reference something else, and it's just like
it makes no sense to me why you wouldn't say if you're holding a piece of whatever, like if you're holding pirate's booty in your hand, say pirate's booty. Don't say nachos. Don't say I'm eating nachos if I'm eating pirate's booty. This doesn't make any sense.
This is definitely a real conversation that we've had. I'm trying to remember.
We probably had this conversation several times.
I think
it's got specificity to it, Josh.
I'm trying to remember what it is, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later.
I may have had this conversation with everyone that was on stage when this happened. So don't feel bad. You may not have seen it in the audience, but it's a thing that actually happened.
So Swedish moves on, and there's a tournament aspect to this show.
Yeah.
You come back for semifinals, and you
actually what happened between the first round and the second round. And so, like I said, I knew that one person's sketch wasn't going to get in.
Yeah.
And so we had 3 sketches in that first iron sketch, which was prop table. And I knew, even though we were all had an ownership of every sketch, one of those person's sketches, the person that typed it did not get their sketch in. And that first show was Mars' sketch, did not get in. And so between the first sketch and the second sketch, there was a theme show that happened. It was a Halloween theme show. It was in October.
Right.
It was actually October 10th of 2014. And I only remember that is because Eric and I were both going to be out of town for that show. So I kind of I said earlier that I don't like teaching, but here's a lesson that I did teach them: write to your limitations. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that I knew we had some time leading up to it, and we knew that Eric and I weren't going to be there. Let's figure out a way to use the fact that Eric and I aren't there. And that's when we wrote the Magic Mirror sketch.
Right.
And that's one of the things.
That's another hallmark of that I totally forgot about earlier is your interaction with technology.
Yeah.
Which became a necessity when two people moved across the country.
And it started as a necessity. It started as a necessity because Eric and I weren't going to be there.
Yeah.
And every time it happens, it's because it's a necessity. And that necessity became a strength of ours, I think. I like to think that it became a strength. It may not have. I feel like after having produced that first one, looking back on it, like I love it, but we realized how much more we could have done with it. Mm-hmm. And then we tried to do that with the next time. And then the next time we tried to do a little more. But that one, like people still can like tell us that how great that. I think Joe Moore puts it in his curriculum in class, or he has. He's shown that to classes before as a thing to.
Because if that date is correct, and I remember correctly, I wasn't at that theme show because I was seeing Tig Notaro.
Oh.
So, sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But we did it again at a show or two.
And I saw it again, whenever it was, and I was like, what is this? Like, it totally, like, blew my mind how well it worked.
Mm-hmm. It was fun to write that in the room of just coming up with gags. And, like, we call it a magic trick. Mm-hmm. And it's phrases that we use since 2014. We just try to come up with magic tricks on stage. There was a magic trick in our first show. There was a Jesus sketch that I figured out how to do it, but we didn't have time to actually make it happen.
Right.
But that first show, there was we did a sketch where like the 12 disciples were having their the Last Supper at Olive Garden, or the Garden of Olives. And I figured out a way to make Jesus pour water into the glasses and make it turn into wine. Mm-hmm. And then so from then on, I'm like, all right, we got to figure out ways to put magic tricks into our sketches live, like our live stuff, and the audience is just going to not realize what just happened, and it's beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, we keep trying like that. I feel like that's something that we're always striving for as a signature. I don't know if we nail it every time, but we're always trying to make a thing happen. And the interactive videos are one of the ways that we try to make that happen.
And that's just entirely necessity because
usually
can't be on stage, so he has to.
Right, usually. And there was that one sketch where we did the monsters under the bed, and so we shot the video. And a lot of times we give ourselves hoops to jump through, which is stupid. Like there's ways to figure out like. There's ways to do magic tricks that are easier than the way we do them, but I think sitting in an audience watching like the live actors interacting with the video on the screen and knowing there's like a huge chunk of time in the video where there's no reaction, like there's no dialogue, when there's no dialogue, and then like a minute in dialogue happens and it's on cue. Sitting in an audience watching that and knowing that it's like the performers rehearsed to make that cue happen on time.
Because talking to Julia as you prepare for Swedish shows, that's always her thing that she's like, I have to get the timing right. It's stupid.
There's an easier way to do it, but the audience knows that you're cheating.
Yeah, there's absolutely,
And I hate being in an audience and watching a cheat and seeing it happen. There's also, going back to sitting next to each other in audiences a lot. I don't know how to turn that part of my brain off. Of being a critical producer, I don't know how to turn it off.
I can't either.
And it kind of ruins watching live entertainment for me. Like this past weekend, we went and saw like a Halloween thing at it was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and Samantha and I were both like in the audience on the drive home. We're like, so they could have done it better. Like if I were doing that, here's how I would have done it. And like I don't know how to not be that critical producer's eye. Yeah. It must be lovely to sit in an audience and watch a thing and just enjoy it in the evening. It must be wonderful. People are propping each other constantly, so they must sleep well at night. I don't know what it's like to not have that critical thing, especially for your friends. Like, to not be critical of your friends, that must be lovely. and then to not have to tell them about it? Oh, what a dream. What a dream. But yeah, I'm not good at watching live entertainment, which is also, it's nice that now I live in the suburbs, so it's hard to get me to a show anyway. Yeah. I feel bad as an audience member, as a person who could be an audience member. I'm like, I'm gonna take my shoes off and stay in tonight. Like, I feel bad, but I don't feel that bad.
This is entirely, and so Swedish is finishing.
Yeah, so we're finishing. Are you about to ask me why?
No, okay. I mean,
I thought that question might come up.
2 people on the West Coast. There's 3 people here. It's hard to be quintet.
We did a couple shows with Mara when Mara moved to Los Angeles to do UCLA Law School. She went to grad school for law. That was 2 years ago. And so we did a show without her. We did a run of shows without her. And that's when we first started. Did some interactive videos.
Skype conference call.
Right, there's a Skype conference call. There was one sketch that I wrote that it was like she was in a video will. Okay. And so like someone's dead on the floor and they find a VHS tape and we stick it in. It's Mara. She's presenting this thing. And then, so like that was good. And then Bobby moved to do grad school for acting at UNLV. So now he's in Las Vegas. Mara's in Los Angeles. Now it's just Eric, me, and Julia trying to put shows on. And it just, once it goes from 5 people to 4 people and 4 people to 3 people, as much as they can do via Skype and like writing a sketch here while between classes or trying to like get a video in and doing something interactive, it's great, but it's still a lot more work on us. Yeah. And again, as a control freak, even that little amount of delegating I do, now it's delegating even less. Yeah. It becomes
going from 20% to 30% of it.
Yeah. So and we all have like Swedish is everyone's side project. Yeah. Mara's got law school. Bobby's got UNLV. Eric's got comedy sports. Julia's in Barbara Bush, and she was also in. She says yes to everything. She's Dog Mountain, and then I've got Secret Pants, and so Swedish started to become like, all right, well, we're not going to meet this week. How about we'll try to meet next week? All right, we're going to try to meet next week, and it became that thing that I've seen too many other groups kind of just fizzle out. Yeah. And I was like, all right, well, instead of us fizzling out or getting frustrated at each other because we get frustrated with each other, how about we just pull out the card that we've been sitting in our pocket? And the other part of the problem,
finale.
The other part of the problem, in addition to all that, God, it's so hard to get people to come out to shows. And I've already established that I'm a hard person to get to come to shows, so I get it. It's hard to get people to come out to shows. And so it's frustrating to put on a lot of, like I said, rehearse to get cues perfect, and then have like 8 people in an audience. Yeah. Like, oh, why do we even bother?
Yes, the ratio of work to, I don't want to say like satisfaction, does get skewed.
Yeah, the payoff for the amount of work. It's still the people that are in the audience appreciate it, but I'd like more people to appreciate it. And so we knew in our back pocket, if we did a final show, people might come to it.
And, Secret Pants has been threatening for years as our penultimate show.
That's
you're finally
one of our favorite running gags.
Ultimate show, so.
So I knew that at the very least, if we could put, and I said this at the top of the interview, It's such a corny phrase, but I can't stop saying it. Hey, let's put an exclamation point at the end of the sentence. And after watching my favorite group, and she's sitting right next to me, my favorite sketch group to watch was Youth Large, who had just a handful of shows, and then when Goldie moved across the country,
being able to have the final,
not having a final show, I know it killed her and it killed them, but man, as like their self-described biggest fan, it killed me to not get to have that closure. So I didn't want that to happen either.
Because I mentioned to you when you told me about it back in whenever, like, there's a part of me that regrets not being a part of what ended up being my group's secret. My group's last show.
Never go on vacation, Josh.
I apparently
never
not,
go on vacation.
Playing things months in advance, and then
it's not like there's any animosity. So in the future, there could certainly be a reunion show once everyone's done with whatever they're doing. And we're all still friends. We're all planning on meeting for dinner on occasion. That's another thing that I stole from Secret Pants is that we meet at Murph's bar. The supper club that Secret Pants always does. He's open on Mondays too. So we go on Mondays when we can, when we're not rehearsing for a show. We meet every week at Murph's bar for fine Italian dining.
I know that's a bit of an abrupt ending for the first half of this conversation. You get the rest of it in the next episode later this week. Swedish presents their final shows, Swedish, fully accredited, at Philly Improv Theater on November 17th and 18th at 9 p.m. Tickets are available at fitcomedy.com. Also, during Black Friday Comedy Marathon, you can see me host my game show, The Big Freakin Quiz with Josh Hyam, on Saturday, November 25th at 2:28 p.m. I have 6 great contestants lined up that I'll announce here. Brendan Kennedy, Keen Cobb, Cynthia Marie, Quentin Alexander, Chris Hodge, and Rachel Greenman. My First Sketch is a Philly Sketchfest production. You can find out more information at phillysketchfest.com or on Twitter at PHLSketchfest. Also, for more information about comedy in Philly, head to watercooler.com. The music on this episode is by the band No No, which you can check out at nonoband.bandcamp.com. And of course, like My First Sketch on Facebook. This is Josh Hyam. Thanks for listening. Now go see some comedy.